Hi, I'm here with Sharon Yager, Director of the Shrewsbury Senior Center. Thank you. We're going to talk about some of the great things that are going on at the Senior Center, and particularly in March. But first, we're going to talk about something that, very big that's going on in April.
Yes, we thanks to our friends of the Shrewsbury Senior Center who are sponsoring this event. We have a very special event coming up on Wednesday, April 3rd. We're going to be hosting Edith Holtzman. She's a playwright from New Jersey, and she's doing a special play called Yesterday's Nightmares, Tomorrow's Dreams. And it's a play she's written that, a one-woman show that incorporates her family's experience with the Holocaust with the Frank families. So it's, you know, historically accurate based on what happened with Anne Frank, as well as her own family. So it should be a nice multi-generational event, particularly this time of year where a lot of people are preparing for Easter, Passover, or just, you know, thinking about that dark time in our history, and celebrating the resiliency of folks that that did survive and honoring those that were lost. But it's suitable for ages 14 and up. Ms. Holtzman said it is suitable for young men or women that are looking to be bar mitzvahed or bat mitzvahed. It would be a good opportunity for them to see as well. But so we're hoping folks will come out to the Senior Center and take advantage of this special event, and hopefully come away with learning something new and having something that will touch their heart.
Oh, that's great. I think it's so important. I mean, for people who are a little older to be able to talk about that and learn some more details like that, that's one thing. For younger people, I think there's this generation that is losing any touch with that terrible time and those terrible things that happened, and or are totally unaware, which boggles my mind, that are totally unaware of the Holocaust. And so an opportunity like this to bring somebody who's a little younger, I think is terrific.
Yeah, I think, well, as you and I know, a lot of times, you know, history can seem kind of warped depending on what your age is, and it seems like, oh, that was I mean, that's like ancient history, that was so long ago. But I mean, when you think about it, you know, depending on the age of many of your viewers, I know I was born, you know, roughly 25 years after all of that happened. I mean, it won't be long before that's like the same span of time that we'll be looking at between now and 9/11, and you know, you don't want those parts of history getting lost, you know, or people thinking that, well, that would never happen again, or again that, well, that didn't happen here, that was overseas. And you know, as we know, there's just a lot that we still need to learn from that horrible event. And again, there's a lot of wonderful stories that came out of the darkness of that too.
Sure,
so,
sure. Yeah, and the hope that if we don't teach younger people and future generations, it'll happen again. And you know, or things like this that do happen in some, maybe on a different scale today in different parts of the world, and we become inured to that, I think. And and this is great. So this is April 3rd.
Yes, and it's late in the afternoon. It's 3 o'clock. So that way we're hoping that, you know, middle school, high school kids will be able to join us. And it can be a real, again, nice multi-generational event. Ms. Holtzman does offer things up for questions afterwards, so that people can, you know, it's not like, okay, she's done and you can leave. That, you know, you'll have time to ask questions, or you know, discuss what may have happened in your family, or people that you have heard of that survived the Holocaust or lost loved ones in that event. So it should just be a really nice, special thing that our friends are making possible.
Oh, that's great. And because of the friends, it's no cost. Anybody who wants to attend.
Yeah, yep. It's the friends are picking up the cost of the whole event, and it is on the pricey side. So again, it's not something that the Council on Aging in and of itself would be able to provide without our friends group. So just another plug for our friends of the Shrewsbury Senior Center. They do great work, and these are the types of special things that they're hoping to see more of in the future, thanks to folks that belong to the Friends, sponsor their events, support their fundraising efforts. Makes a big difference for what we're able to provide at the Senior Center.
That's great. So then in the minute or so that's left to us, we wanted to touch base about a couple of other things that are going on. The Memory Cafe.
Yeah, it's growing. It's really doing very well. So a lot of folks have been, calling and just asking about it. And if that date doesn't work for them, they could always check out the library's Memory Cafe, or they've heard about it in a different community, but the Friday that we offer it works out better for them. They want to know, can they come even though they live in this community? And the answer is yes. I mean, it's open to everyone, regardless of what community they live in. So it's really, and we've had some people take part that don't have memory issues, but just like the activity and want to be involved. And again, that's what it's all about, is to bring people together, regardless of their cognitive functioning. And,
that's right. And caregivers as well.
Correct.
Or family members. Yep. That's great.
Yeah.
And then there's a dementia care partner support group.
Yes. And that's one of the key things to helping somebody live successfully in the community with any type of dementia or cognitive issues, supporting that care partner, making sure that, they're not overwhelmed, that they know that they have support, that they have a place to vent or get resources or, learn new coping mechanisms. And so that's an important tool that we've been doing too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And for information about these and the multitude of other programs and ways that the Senior Center helps, they should go to the website.
Yep, or give us a call, or our newsletter's online, so they can take a peek at that, or always call us. We're at 508-841-8640.
Great.
Our voicemail's on 24 hours a day, so leave
Super.
a message, 3 o'clock in the morning, we'll get it when we open up.
There
Something
you go.
pops in your mind, just call us. People do that.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you for coming and sharing, and
No problem, Matt.
particularly about the event on April 3rd.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Well, that's great. Sounds exciting. And we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm here today with Kim Flaherty and Melissa Stein from Open Circle Acupuncture and Healing in Northborough. I asked them to come in and talk a little bit about acupuncture. And there are a lot of misconceptions about acupuncture, and it can be a great help for people of all ages. And we wanted to talk a little bit today about people who may be a little older, and talk about how you deal with people who may be struggling with arthritis, other pain issues, digestive issues, which acupuncture plays a role. So thank you for coming today.
Well, thank you for having us.
So tell me a little bit about how you look at what kinds of treatments, and we're going to see Kim is going to be treated today so that people can see it doesn't cause great pain and bleeding,
Yes.
and that's one of the misconceptions or hesitations I think people have. So tell me a little bit about what you do and what it is that you're trying to accomplish through acupuncture.
Yeah, so acupuncture is a way of helping the body heal itself. That's primarily the main goal, because the body really is designed to deal with any illness or trauma. If we think about a child when they're learning to walk during the first 2 years of their life, they can fall upwards of 2,000 times, they estimate. But where are the bruises?
Right.
They're so, their circulation is so good that they basically heal almost immediately. So what would happen to us if we fell 2,000 times in the next 2 years? We'd be in the emergency room all the time. So what happens is over time our vascular system becomes less optimal. And so the acupuncture is a way of helping basically roll back some of those issues we have with blood flow in the body.
Okay.
And in the blood is our oxygen and all those pain relieving chemicals that we need to heal. So that's one of the reasons why we can help with so many different things. A lot of issues with health is an issue of circulation. So we can really help with a lot of that. Yeah, so it's sort of like when you know what it does, then it can trickle down to helping with so many different issues.
And you're going to, Kim's our patient for today, so you're going to treat.
So I'm going to demonstrate some acupuncture. So we put a little alcohol swab on the point, and the needles, unlike most other acupuncture or any other needle experience, they're very, very thin. They're basically like a thick hair. And I use a guide tube because all of the pain receptors are right under the skin. So you tap it really quick, and it really shouldn't hurt at all. It's but it is a misconception that you don't feel anything.
Right.
Because some people do feel, a lot of people do feel some sensation. It usually feels a little more heavy, or there's some tingling. It's just some movement. We call it the movement of the chi, that things
Sure,
are flowing. So, but it shouldn't feel uncomfortable. It should never feel uncomfortable.
Okay.
Sometimes a dull ache is good because it means things are moving. You can feel things moving.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so that, because that's, when I go to a doctor or have a treatment of some sort, that's when I want to be able to anticipate what are the
Yes.
possibilities. So a dull ache is a possibility, you know, that tells me, okay, there's nothing wrong here.
Exactly.
That's the way it should or
Yes.
could work for me. So you're treating here, not the hand.
Not necessarily the
Not
hand
necessarily
at
the
all.
hand. That's,
Yeah,
So
so
what are
we're
you
looking
treating
at the
on here?
connections between things. So a lot of the different, this is actually a channel, this is called the large intestine channel, and it goes all the way up to the neck and shoulders and even up into the sinuses and the head. So this point is one of the main points in the body to treat headaches, neck pain, sinus issues, even just helping to clear sore throat, because it does pass through that area as well. So one point can have just this whole list of health benefits depending on what's going on with the person they might experience.
so that's fascinating too, because if you don't anticipate that and you go to an acupuncturist
Yes.
for something in your sinus or something in your neck, and that's what you initially
Yes.
have, you're going, really? Well, okay. But
yeah.
So if you understand that, it makes you less hesitant about going.
Sure.
to
But at the
your
same
clinic.
time, like there are points, like there are sinus points that I do all the time. So if someone comes in really with this chronic sinusitis, we'll do some local needles as well, because they just provide different benefits. So
Okay.
the points, they both work really, really like
And
synergistically.
arthritis and that kind of issue, you see a lot of people
Very much
60
so.
and over in particular
Absolutely.
who might be dealing with arthritis and bursitis.
Yes.
And this acupuncture is a good treatment for something like that, because it is opening up the blood flow. Is that?
It's good for the inflammation.
Yes,
So it
and
increases blood
the
flow.
nerves are stimulated here. It helps the brain to release anti-inflammatories and your own natural opioids that relieve pain. So if we can stimulate the midbrain to release those anti-inflammatories, then they'll go where it's needed.
I think that's a really important point, and that's what you're doing. You're opening up not just blood flow, but you're getting the brain to release its our own natural inflammatory.
Exactly. It
anti-inflammatories.
is supposed to, we're supposed to relieve our pain. Chronic pain is basically pain without a purpose. So if we're having pain, then we're not, something is not healing itself
Sure.
properly. Yeah.
Okay. That's great. That's interesting. Well, why don't you remove those so people
Sure.
can see as we're
Yeah,
wrapping
of
up that
course.
there's no blood. And
Easy
and how long
peasy.
does it take, a treatment take ordinarily?
So we have people come in for an hour, but the first 15 minutes we'll be talking and checking in, and then I do the treatment, and people generally rest for about 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Good to know.
Yeah.
All right, and we'll be showing your information, contact information. So it's a great, another alternative to try if you're not having success
Absolutely, yeah.
with the treatments that you've been in maybe a more traditional
Exactly. And I
medicine.
do think it's a nice thing to try before you go to more invasive things like surgery. It's like whatever you can do to see if you can naturally address pain before you're on really strong pain medicines
medications
too.
or
You know, the pain
surgeries,
medicines,
Yeah.
the surgeries. Try something natural first.
Makes a
It
lot of
often
sense.
makes, you know, so you don't need those things.
That's great. Works for me.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
it.
us.
And we'll be right back. Hi, I'm here today with Tara Rivera, who is the treatment advocate for Recovery Centers of America. Thank you for coming and sharing some information
Thank you
with
for
us,
having
and
me.
a tough subject today. Alcohol abuse and drug abuse among older Americans. And we've been talking a little bit about being able to recognize or wrap my head around the fact that people of all ages have historically been alcoholics. So I can wrap around that vision that, yes, older Americans have issues with alcohol. Drugs is a whole other thing. I can't, a person who's 60 or 70 using heroin or other opioids is just a foreign thing to me, not being in that world like you are. So tell me a little bit about what you see in terms of older Americans using both. And how prevalent both
So
are.
I mean, like you said, alcohol is still very prevalent, and I think that someone can have an alcohol problem and be high functioning for a really long time, and that could just fly under the radar. They could hide it really, really well. With the opioid addiction, typically people tend to go downhill a lot faster, and so then red flags are seen a lot quicker than with alcohol. And I think a lot of the opiate problems with folks that with seniors is that maybe they had a surgery, a knee surgery, or a hip problem or back pain, and they're given this prescription. And maybe they have been using alcohol right along and no one's really known,
Sure.
and then all of a sudden that develops into a completely different problem because the euphoria that you feel from an opioid is very different than you feel from the alcohol. So there could be a dependency created there, or there may be some childhood trauma or some past history that the person hasn't dealt with. And then when they take that substance, again, they're feeling that euphoric feeling. It's very, very addictive. So people that you wouldn't imagine would become addicted have become addicted now.
So you do see people, older Americans, senior citizens, more at your treatment center and other facilities.
Yeah.
That's the approach has to be a little different than with your 20-year-old, I would think.
Right. It is different, but at the same time, we talked about earlier, we at Recovery Centers America offer very individualized treatment plans. So if someone may be 65 and they hadn't necessarily developed a addiction until this point, the treatment is going to look very different than someone who's 25 and may have been struggling for 5 years and maybe there was trauma in their history or that sort of thing. So the approach is very different, but really what we're trying to do is get to the root cause of that addiction. Right? People don't technically become addicted. Well, it is genetics. I mean, that certainly is part of it, but there's always some kind of an underlying issue that we need to figure out, whether it's self-esteem or whether it's trauma or, what that is, and we need to get to the root cause so that we can really help them achieve long-term sobriety.
That's interesting because, why this has become such a prevalent issue is a big discussion in and of itself. When you get older, and I've experienced this, so many changes as you get older, all of a sudden you're not as employable or you're not working anymore. Even if you choose to retire, your purpose in life has changed dramatically and maybe not in a way that you were looking forward to. And your self-esteem, you mentioned that's different. That's harder to find purpose and self-esteem in a positive way.
Yes.
For somebody older, I hadn't thought about that as being an issue. The issue of taking different drugs as a result of surgeries, I kind of understand. But I hadn't thought about the other root issues that may, for older Americans, may get somebody kind of started in that. And
especially if your identity came in your career. Right?
Absolutely.
A lot of us, I mean, that's what we do, 40, 50, some of us 60 hours a week. So when that's gone, even though in our mind we're like, can't wait to retire, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, but there's a lot of other things that come along with that, self-esteem issues and self-identity issues, and now really like, what am I here for? You know?
Absolutely.
So.
And that there were, and I'm significantly older than you are, I know 20, 25 years ago there were studies done about men, because that was the workforce, supposedly. And how that was a real critical issue for men when they retired, unless you had enough money to go off and do constantly things that you wanted to do.
Right.
Most of us aren't in that position.
Right.
So for men, and now I'm sure with women who are reaching that age and all of a sudden you're not employable, or the kinds of employment you can get, as a greeter at a retail store or something that maybe you didn't set out to do with your life's work. And your self-esteem and your self-identity, as you mentioned, that does change dramatically. And then you add some of the physical issues that we get as we get older. That must be, that's tough. And then there's isolation, I think, for a lot of seniors. That's a problem.
Right. Well, because our job gives us the socialization that we need.
Sure.
My mother retired from Verizon a few years ago, and she was so excited about retiring. She couldn't wait to retire. And when she retired, she actually had a little bout of depression because Now I don't have to get up and go to work anymore. In the beginning, it's kind of fun.
Yes, for a while, it's, oh, this is grand.
And then
you know,
after a while, you're like, okay, so now what do I do with myself? You know,
Yeah.
so she found some stuff to volunteer with. She volunteers with the faith-based sober house that I had mentioned earlier, and that's her purpose. And so, you know, she's great, but you have to kind of have some type of a plan in place, I think, so that you don't fall into that rut.
Yeah, I think that's a big part. I'm one of those planners. I plan, you know, beginning of the year, so and then every week I have a plan. Then every day I have a carry a plan around. But a lot of people are, and that does help
Yes.
to know kind of where you're going, what. And I love to read, and a lot of people can't walk, you know, or have trouble read. So you get more and more isolated when you're not working, and friends are dying, passing away, and you know, it's a tough time in that regard. So if somebody feels like maybe they could use a little help, or your family member, a family member of somebody who's a senior might need a little help, how do they contact you?
Yeah, so I absolutely love to get phone calls and help people. I do it on a daily basis, and that's my passion. So my cell phone number is 978-870-7734. You can also go to our website, which is www.recoverycentersofamerica.com.
And don't worry, we're going to be running that through the course of this along the bottom of the
screen
of the frame, so that you don't have to remember as we're talking here.
And 1-800-RECOVERY is our 1-800 number, and it's 24/7.
Okay,
so we're always available.
Super. And I would encourage, and I'm sure you would encourage, people who feel that maybe they could use some help to call. That's a hard step, to get people to call, and get people to say, yeah, I could use a little help, and take that first step. So I hope people do. People do. Thank you for coming and sharing all this great information. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm here today with Dave Peterson, General Manager of the Worcester Bravehearts, the co-champion Worcester Bravehearts from 2018, baseball team that's plays at Fitton Field still in Worcester, and people from all over Central Mass go to the games. Thanks for coming and sharing a little bit about the Bravehearts and your background with the baseball team. The team's won how many times? You've been champions?
Well, we've been fortunate enough to win 3 championships since we've been here, and we started in 2014, so 3 out of 5. Not bad.
Not bad,
suppose,
not
huh?
bad, not bad.
But yeah, we play right over there at Fitton Field during the summer, Memorial Day right up till mid-August. A fun night out at the ballpark if you're a baseball fan.
Yeah, well, but you do things there that even if you're not a baseball fan, people would enjoy, and at a very affordable price. So I want to talk about both of those things.
Sure.
Ticket prices are?
You'll find tickets anywhere from basically $6 to $10. $10 is the first row right behind home plate. And so we do try to keep this an affordable night out for families. And you're right, there's a lot else that goes on besides the baseball when you come to a Bravehearts game, because there are giveaways and there are sometimes fireworks shows on Friday nights. There's promotions that happen during the game. We bring children down on the field, and they can be the honorary bat kid for the game, or throw out the ceremonial first pitch, and every kid in the stadium gets to run across the outfield in the 6th inning. So there's a lot of entertainment that goes into these games as well.
It's a great take for families, and if you're a grandparent or a granduncle or something, and you bring your grandson, daughter, grandniece, grandnephew, there's lots for them to do and for you to do, share with them. Like, don't you play some miniature golf or have tournaments on occasion under the stands?
Well, we know that there's sometimes you have young children that don't want to sit still, right? You're not going to sit through 2.5 hours out of a baseball game. That's why we have a whole kids area that has the bouncy houses. And as you said, we have a mini golf course right underneath the stadium where kids can come down and play a round of mini golf while they're there at the ballpark. So we just want to continually keep people entertained, even if they're not baseball fans and they don't want to sit there and watch the game. The baseball is wonderful baseball, but if we're just talking to baseball fans, we feel like maybe we're missing out on a population of people that just want a fun, entertaining night out.
So you have a program that specifically partners people who are a little older with younger people. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, actually, we developed something for our off season called the Pen Pal Club, because the baseball team really only plays between, as I said, Memorial Day and August. So there's 42 weeks out of the year where we're not playing baseball. So what do? We go into the school systems, we talk to students, we incentivize them to read, but we also have created this program that matches up students in 5th and 6th grade, particularly with senior citizens, and they write letters to each other. We create these little journals so that they can write letters to each other. We come up with the topics. So once a month, they'll sit down and write an old-fashioned letter. Because you know, what do the kids do nowadays? They text.
That's right.
Right?
That's
you
right.
know, so it's great practice for the kids to actually write letters, because there's no spell check when
That's
you're
right.
writing a letter on a piece of paper here. So we ask questions like, who's your favorite athlete of all time? What's your favorite sports team? In your opinion, what's the greatest invention ever made? Why is that invention the greatest invention that you feel was ever made? And so we prompt the seniors and the 6th graders to write letters on these topics. And then in June, at the end of the school year, the senior citizens get a chance to meet their pen pals for the first time at one of the Bravehearts games.
Oh, that's super. Yeah, that's a super program, super idea. It'd be fascinating to see what both sides. I mean, I get ticked off at sports analysts now who think about, the greatest basketball player of all time. You know, Michael Jordan's as far back as most of these analysts go. And it's like, do any of you ever heard of Bill Russell or Will Chamberlain?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Same thing with baseball. Greatest hitter, Barry Bonds. You ever hear of Ted Williams and Babe Ruth? And of course, I remember watching Ted Williams. And they don't have any frame of reference for anything past, maybe 1980. And so the kids with some seniors, it'd be totally different frame of references. That must be cool to read.
And we try to keep the topics that both the students and the senior citizens will enjoy. Like, who's your role model? Now, there's a topic that a child might write about, and they might say their mom or their dad, or they might say a famous athlete. A senior's, an older adult might say the same thing. Well, my mom or my dad was my role model, or somebody that I watched on television and followed growing up. And so when they come together for lunch at a Bravehearts game in June, they talk about these topics.
That's a great program.
So we try to run that through the senior programs so that we can do it once a month. We come pick up the journals, we'll drop them off, give you the topics, and we'll come pick them up and bring them over to the school so that they can write letters back to the senior citizens.
Oh, that's a great program. That's a great program. So you have all sorts of entertainment. You have some great baseball, great level of baseball for those of us who also like baseball.
Yeah, sure.
And it's a great take. So remember, the Bravehearts are alive and well, playing baseball through the summer in Worcester, and people from all over Central Mass. It's a great, easy ride into Worcester to get to
right
Holy
off the
Cross.
highway, exactly, right across from Rotman's.
There we go.
You'll see it right there.
There you go. Thank you for coming and sharing a little bit about the Bravehearts, and looking forward to another successful and, more than that, a fun season helping people in all sorts of ways.
Well, thanks, Matt.